Good evening, Gooners. Welcome to In the North Bank and the Matchday preview show. Sunday, obviously fast approaching once again, and a home game back at the Emirates against Brighton. And yeah, I'm supposed to be joined by two lively lads. One Richard and Liam is slightly delayed. I think he's fallen foul to the system. So here we go. He has just come in. How you doing, Liam?
You all right, mate? Yeah, not bad. Sorry about that. Let me just turn that to you.
You got caught in the system.
Yeah, he wouldn't let me in at first.
God, just got that face, haven't you?
Unfortunately so.
So. Yeah, no, it's all good. Yeah, obviously, Matchday preview show. Obviously, Sunday fast approaching. And yeah, come to an end of a season, guys. And it's like, yeah, it's, you know what I mean, three games, it's done within a couple of weeks now, isn't it? So, what are your thoughts? Firstly, Liam, just on last Sunday, really. I suppose we may as well dip into that, as it was a decent performance, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was a good performance, to be fair. And I don't know, I had a good feeling running into that game that we'd do something in Newcastle. I just felt that we got back on track, didn't we, in that Chelsea game? Really good first half. Thought we played within ourselves the second half, which we've pretty much done on several occasions now when we've gone like 3-0 up at the Emirates. And it always seems to be a dodgy scoreline 3-0 because the next team always gets the next goal. But I was happy with the way we won that game at Newcastle as well. I'm glad in some ways, and I said this to someone on Sunday, I was glad we didn't score the second goal in the first half because I think we needed to win that way. We needed to win ugly a little bit. We needed to ride our luck a little bit. And I think for me, the clean sheet was the biggest thing on Sunday. Like, it's been a problem now for quite a few months, and we was just superb, really, defensively on Sunday. And Ramsdale had an incredible game. I always think Ramsdale's so much. So I don't know why. For me, I always think he's so much a better goalkeeper away from home. He just seems to kind of rise up to it, and
yeah,
he had an incredible game, especially that save he done in the second half. Like it was point blank, weren't it? And it was reactional. And yeah, I honestly, I think that was the game we kind of needed to win. And for me, I'm quite confident going into these last three games that after that performance that we should now move on from this. We've seen it before. Like, we've had a dip, but when we have a dip, we come back and we're really strong. So yeah, no, I was really happy with Sunday. I think it was the perfect response.
Yeah, no, it was really good. Obviously, I think those two games obviously very telling from like last season. You picture those two games, weren't it? It was obviously Newcastle away, Tottenham away. They were the two that really must have hurt massively for the group, and to basically go through both those games, 2 clean sheets, and it was 2-0, wasn't it? Tottenham, wasn't it? Yeah, they never did they score?
3-0 when it's Tottenham.
Was it?
Yeah, it's 3-0.
3-0. Yeah, of course it was. Yeah, and it was 2 clean sheets. So look, 2 massive performances just to make it a lot better this season. Obviously, they had a point to prove massively on those 2 games, and yeah, going over there it was always going to be tricky. But yeah, I was pleased that they kind of tried to play the dark arts. I thought it was quite funny. Just to then hear the comical kind of retorts from Newcastle straight after, saying how dare we play that way. So yeah, we spoke, Richard, didn't we, on the Sunday show, and yeah, it was an interesting weekend, wasn't it? Obviously the celebrations with the coronation and stuff. So yeah, it was a bit of a merry day. I think it was. I think I'd had a few cans, and yeah, it was just a pleasing result just to watch on the phone. I was just sitting in the field, Liam, just watching the game.
Oh, lovely.
I watched it at home. It was not comfort of the home, so
lucky you. But no, it's all good. But yeah, that was just a touch base. What we'll do just after this little intro, we'll go into Sunday's game. Stay tuned. Sunday sees. Would we class Brighton as a bogey team at home? I know when we look at past results and certainly at home, it's always been or seemingly a tough game. Bar this away game we had on New Year's Eve. Well, we say bar that, but don't we? That game was mental. Liam, memories on that game on away?
Yeah, it was a good game, that, wasn't it? It was. We scored after about a minute, didn't we, in that game? And then, yeah, it was just like we were so comfortable, weren't we, in that game at Brighton? And I think the problem in that game was we took our fullbacks off, being 3-0 up, and we thought the game was dead and buried. And they started creeping back in the game, didn't they? And it became a bit of a nerve wracker, really, for us. But Brighton, do you know what? Right, Brighton are our bogey team. Like, I can remember the guy going down on a Thursday night. We had a game against them, didn't we? And we lost 2-1. We lost in the League Cup this year. We lost last year. I remember that day, 2-1 again. But I think it was a big day. I think it was a big day, Sunday and Monday, for Arsenal and Brighton in a lot of ways. And I think the way we won, gives me a lot of confidence going into this game, because I think it's going to obviously relighten that flame within us. And even though I shouldn't be confident, because we have made a struggle with our home games lately, and I always feel that we sometimes are better away from home at home than at home. And I think there's less pressure on us away from home with the players for some reason, and we don't start off well at home. I do think that we'll get the job done on Sunday for two reasons, really. I think the first reason, I think that was a big loss for Brighton on Monday. And that would have affected them Monday. Like, to lose 5-1. Was it 5-1 in the end?
Yeah.
5-1 to Everton at home. That is a pretty tough result. And they can come, but they can't. Obviously, they're going to be wanting to make the wrongs right. But I don't see it this Sunday. I really don't, because I think we need that. We need to ensure that we win more than what they need to win. And I know they're going for Europe, and I hope they do get into Europe, because they probably deserve it with the season they've had. But I think we need the game, and I think the players know we need the game. And I'm really, really desperate in myself, and for all of us, really, the fans, that just try and take this to the last game of the season. Like, whether we win it or not, if we can take it down to the last game of the season, it gives us an occasion to look forward to. And I think we deserve to take it to the last game of the season. I think the players deserve to take it to the last game of the season. I think the club deserves to take it to the last game of the season. And for me, I've got this feeling that it ain't dead and buried yet. And I felt if we won at Newcastle, we're putting a lot of pressure on Man City, because the two games at Madrid, sandwiched in between the Everton game, was not the game they wanted. And when I think about it more and more, I think probably Everton away was probably one of the games that we could have sat there and thought, do you know what? If there's a fan base that really gets up for it and rallies behind the team when needed, it's Everton. We've seen what they'll do, and they'll do it again Sunday. Are Man City really going to want to go there on Sunday and commit themselves?
Yeah, I've said for quite a few weeks now, I think that is that it's certainly got a potential to be a banana skin. Obviously,
if they win Sunday,
sorry,
I was just going to say, if they win Sunday at Man City, I think it's more than less that I'll pretty much will then kind of think that they have done it. But if they don't win Sunday, and Arsenal do win Sunday, they've got to go to Brentford and Brighton. And okay, yeah, we've seen what Brighton can do. We've seen them lose by one, but we've seen them win a lot of home games this season. We've seen them upset a lot of big teams. And Brentford ain't no mugs either. And Brentford would be the kind of team that would want to cost Man City the title last game of the season. If you was a team and you had Man City coming to your ground last game of the season to win you don't want them winning the league on your patch. You don't want them winning it on your ground. You want the players to be up for it, like, to make sure that don't happen.
Yeah.
So like for me, the Forest game's the big game, but we should have enough really to win these 3 games.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, Richard. Obviously, this is going to be a real telling game. I think for the title race. Obviously, any drop points, I think, will basically be that's it. We'll settle for second and move on. I think obviously that obviously is done. It'll be done and dusted then mathematically anyway, wouldn't it? I think if Barcott.
Yeah, I think if we got points, City would have to lose three for us to have any chance, and I don't see them losing 3 between now and the end of the season.
Yeah, we'll say it's going to be an interesting game for Everton, certainly.
Yeah, I mean, Real Madrid roughed them up. I expect Everton at Goodison to be very physical and get in their faces and leave a couple on them just inside the law, but they do like to try that. They're quite a physical, especially at midfield. If they play Anana, Decore, and I can't remember the other one that played against us, but if they play those sort of 3, it's quite a physical midfield, and I can see them getting into challenges and just getting about City, and that might just unnerve them for a bit.
Yeah, I mean the game last week, obviously 5-1 away at Brighton.
It was a huge confidence.
It was a massive confidence boost, but I've never seen a team probably win that convincingly 5-1 with like 22% possession. And you look, it was just like it's crazy. Brighton had like 23, 24 shots, and it was like, look, it shows that there's going to be no drop off from them. I think this week of when they come to the Emirates, and look, we're in for a tough game, and if we're not up for the battle ourselves, then it's the only thing we can control is those performances that we obviously put out on the pitch. But yeah, I'm always worried when we play Brighton, certainly at home, because they are a decent recruitment team that they've got at that club is like unbelievable. And you're suddenly thinking it isn't just a flash in the pan either. It's been over about 2, 3, 4 seasons where they've picked up some right old good players, and yeah, look, they can command the fees that they want to command, like we found out in the transfer window. So yeah, it's interesting to see how we're going to line up. Obviously, the news a little bit earlier obviously broke about Saliba and Zinchenko both being out for the remainder of the season. So, what are your thoughts, Richard, first about obviously having that confirmed? So I know we spoke. Saliba was pretty much a done deal, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think we probably realised that Saliba was out for the season. It was getting to that stage, but there was no progression, and it was just they were hedging their bets. Zinchenko, is it going to be? You're going to miss the control he provides in midfield, but Tierney, I thought that was Tierney's best sort of 30, 40 minutes in a long time for us. It was a strong, solid performance, and he looked actually like a player from a couple of seasons ago. Maybe he's adjusted to that role and what is needed of him. Maybe it was just a confidence thing or fitness thing, but something in that Newcastle game clicked, and if he takes that into this game, I'd be quite happy with that.
Yeah, Liam. Obviously, massive talk with regards to Tierney. What's obviously going to happen into the summer? It's a player you don't really want to lose going into a first Champions League campaign. I don't think we can afford really to kind of say lose a player like Kieran Tierney before you go into that kind of this next season where you suddenly think we need to add to the group, but by selling maybe a couple of players kind of like him, we're kind of going a bit more further back than what we need to be getting them to be able to compete next season. What are your thoughts on KT, and if he obviously can fill in as Zinchenko's main man, provide post study?
Yeah, I think my personal opinion is, and I think by the way I will say is, I think Zinchenko's had a great season with us, but I think Kieran Tierney should be playing at the moment. Just for the fact that over the last couple of games, I think Zinchenko's been kind of done defensively in a few games. I think the Chelsea goal was pretty inexcusable that he just stopped, and I think personally, I would have liked to see him taken out for a little bit. But what I would say on the Kieran Tierney piece is that Kieran Tierney is a quality player. And what are you going to do with Kieran Tierney? You're going to send him to Newcastle and strengthen them? Are you going to send him to Man City and strengthen them? Or Man United, or whoever? We can't sell him. Like, for me, we can't sell him. Whoever we sell him to, we sell him in England, we strengthen that club massively. And it's not a gimme that Zinchenko is a better fullback than this Tierney. Do you know what I mean? It's just that Zinchenko can play the role that Arteta wants. Now, I think what does interest me now on Sunday is what happens in front of him. Now, Tierney's definitely starting. Do we start Trossard Sunday? Now, Trossard's got a massive point to prove against Brighton. Like, he fell out with the manager big time. He'll want to go there and play well. But Martinelli had a good game Sunday. But we know that Arteta's never been totally keen on the Tierney-Martinelli combo. So I think it's interesting what happens Sunday, because I do wonder whether Trossard will start Sunday. And I wouldn't be against it, because I think he's got a massive point to prove against them. And I think Trossard's got some big goals left in him this season. We haven't really seen him score goals yet, have we? We scored the one, and he had that goal, unfortunately, disallowed at Leicester.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think going back to Tierney, for me, we can't sell him at all costs. If you're going to sell him, you need to sell him abroad, in my opinion. Like, that is the only place we can sell him. But who are you going to get in? Exactly. Who are you going to get in who's going to be better than Tierney or compete better than Tierney? Because
I tell you, if we sell Tierney, and I think if we sell him, it's not because we want to, it's because he will want to go. Yeah. What I believe is they'll move Tommy Asu over to left back, and then they'll buy a backup for in a right back position, a competition for Ben White in the.
Yeah. Do you know the only thing that concerns me about that, though, mate? To be honest with you, the only thing that concerns me about that is Tommy Asu. Like, we've had this issue this year, right back, because Tommy Asu is injury prone. And if we do that, then we've got a problem again at left back, because if he gets injured again, then it's just Zinchenko. Like,
you've also got Kivior. Kivior can play left back as well. He's done it He did it a couple times for Spezia, but again, you're not wanting to overplay players if you can help it. I'd prefer to keep Tierney, but
do you think he'll stay?
Keep the player. What was that?
Do you think he'll stay?
I'd hope he would. I would hope that he's got the mentality of saying, I want to stay, I want to fight, I want to compete for titles, and I know I'm going to get game time, because there's no way Zinchenko is going to be playing every 3 days.
Yeah.
it might be that you'll see Zinchenko play Champions League and Tierney play on the weekend, and you'll get those sort of changes. But I think there's going to be plenty of game time, and I agree. Well, if you're going to sell him, it's got to be to a foreign team. You can't give him to Newcastle. You can't give him to any other English team.
No, it'll end up being a kick in the nuts. You know what it's like. We've been in there so many times before. I think he'll stay. I think we'll keep him. I honestly think we'll keep him, and I think he'll stay. I think it's been unfortunate this season, but you know what? He might have needed this season to get himself back fit and get himself because he's had a lot of niggly injuries, isn't he? He might have needed this season just to sort his body out, sort his posture out, and all that kind of stuff. But I'm with you.
And everything as well, isn't it? Get a pre-season out of the
way. And he's also been learning how to play the way Arteta wants him to, that position to be played. And what was the game? It was he came on and he just the Southampton game, and he came on and he was in that midfield role, but he was just moving about aimlessly, and he didn't seem he was trying to do it, but it didn't click in his head. But the Newcastle game, I saw something different. It sort of, I'm not overthinking it. I'm just going to go with my gut.
Yeah.
And it was his best, as I said, it was his best performance. And I think it was probably our second best performance of the season. I think the Brentford game away was probably our best performance in terms of the total control we had in that game. But Newcastle, because they're a better team, and where the money they've got, and that performance they did there, they put on that was probably why I think they it was very close run. And you've got to say that was the best two keepers in England on display in that game, and hopefully Southgate recognises that, and one of those two get the nod over Pickford.
Yeah, no, look, we know what they're going to pose Newcastle. So like next season, it's going to be clear, I think, in what they're going to look to try and do. But yeah, what we can't be doing is making it for them to kind of add to their ranks. As I say, I think Tierney would just be like he's gone out the back door. And bearing in mind, if 3 seasons ago or 3 seasons ago, we were talking about him being, say, like a next kind of Arsenal captain, a potential kind of captain. You're suddenly thinking, well, yeah, can't be letting a player go like that. But yeah, it's got to be very interesting to see what he does there, and yeah, it might benefit us. Let's say I was hoping that Arteta may have deviated from that kind of playing Tierney to playing Zinchenko, rather than having 2 inverted players. You then actually just keep the width and just try and use his natural kind of things. But again, there's no point probably doing that if we've not really got anyone really to kind of get on the end of crosses like what we're doing. And yeah, I think the 2 seasons ago, wasn't it? Obviously that was the game against Brentford, wasn't it? The first game, they were up, and I think he had about 18 crosses into the box. None of them went to any Arsenal player in the box, apart from a Pepe shot that just got saved. So you look at it like that, and you're suddenly thinking, well, potentially that's the reason why he wants to kind of keep that and keep that kind of security, because we haven't got those players to kind of do what he needs to do. If we had a nice Giroud, that'd be a different story, wouldn't it? Nice, still.
Or what? Or Tony in there, yeah. So.
It's about 8, I think it seems, but he's still banging in the goals. Then who would have thought they'd be like heading up a Champions League semi-final at their age. They're like Edin Dzeko and Giroud. It's like, yeah, just crazy. But yeah, what did you think of the Champions Leagues? I didn't see too much, but did you watch? Did you watch the?
I watched the Real Madrid one. I watched the City Real Madrid one because my half brother's a City fan, and I like winding him up, and so I thought I'd watch it and and see if there was anything I could wind him up about. And to be honest, the quality in that game was quite poor. Other than the Vinicius goal and the De Bruyne goal, two moments of excellence, the actual overall quality of those matches were very poor. I think Cruz was very lucky to stay on the pitch. That was a very crude tackle, and I think Carvajal was very lucky not to get 2 yellows for the way he was barging Grealish over, and the one that he pushed him into the hoardings, that was probably a red on its own because of how dangerous that is. So we had it with the right back replaced Bellerin. He got pushed into the hoardings and broke his arm, didn't he? And he didn't play for us again. I can't remember the guy's name now. A few seasons back.
Oh.
German, I think it was, wasn't it?
Volts? No. Blimey, that's going.
No.
That's going back a long time.
No, it was. No, I can't remember his name, but he was back up to Bellerin, and
Debussy.
What?
Debussy.
Yeah. There you go.
Yeah, Debussy it was. Yeah, and he got pushed into the side hooligans. Yeah, I think it was, and he injured, and he didn't come back from that, did he? So,
no.
But and I thought that challenge was worthy of a red because Grealish did hit the hoardings, and he hit the hoardings with his head, so it could have been a lot more serious than it was. But as I said, quality poor, and the only thing that lit that game up was the De Bruyne strike and the Vinicius strike. And you're very hard to choose between which one was the better. I probably would have said the Vinicius one because it was top corner, and the keeper was. Whereas the De Bruyne one, you question whether Courtois could have probably got to that being low down, but that's nitpicking. I didn't see the Milan game, but that's got a lot of thing to it, hasn't it? Because that's going to be their last Champions League in the San Siro, because they're both that's being torn down, and they're both going to new stadiums.
Yeah.
So it's a little bit of history being lost there.
Yeah. Liam, going to go back into Sunday mode. Yeah, and that midfield, what are we going with?
It's an interesting one Sunday, isn't it? Because you've got Casado in there, so you want to kind of like. My head says that obviously Jorginho has to start again, but I'm wondering if he does start again. It's a tricky one, isn't it? Because he was unbelievable on Sunday. Like, he just done the easy things right, but I don't know. I don't know if he. There's something telling me that he might start Partey Sunday. I don't know why. Why. But,
yeah, it's interesting to see what he's done. Obviously, he's pulled him out, hasn't he, for a couple of games. But he's obviously seen the mistake.
What I felt was interesting was the fact that when he did bring Partey on, he took Odegaard off. He didn't take Jorginho off. He put Partey in the Odegaard role.
Yeah.
I felt that was quite an interesting, and it might be that you could see Xhaka dropped and Partey go in there, and Jorginho be that holding.
The thing is,
because
Yeah,
Partey does do that quite well.
Partey can play that role, can't he? He can easily play
Yeah.
box to box role.
Yeah.
Do you know what? I think it's a tricky one Sunday. I really think it's a tricky one because I don't want to like. It's all right going to Newcastle and doing a job on there on Sunday, but I think it's going to be a totally different game this Sunday, and I think you're going to need someone to be a little bit more kind of, I don't know, kind of like not stagnated as such, but like obviously on the, like literally getting around the pitch because obviously they have got the midfield Brighton to kind of compete. But do you know what? Probably Jorginho does deserve to start. With being frankly honest, like he started against Chelsea and was free up. And what I like about Jorginho is he plays the forward pass. He's not a guy that plays backwards. He's not worried to play that forward pass. And he reminds me a little bit in terms of the way he does that, like how Cazorla used to do it. How Cazorla used to get the attacking players into the game that half a second quicker than anyone else. And I feel like Jorginho does that for us a little bit.
A bit of calmness, isn't it? It's just that.
Yeah, he's just calm,
and that's
mate.
what Cazorla was, wasn't he? Both feet turn around either side and just like bang, just.
I think you have to start Jorginho, really. I think, really, if we're being totally honest, after the last two games, it'd be criminal if he doesn't start him. And, yeah, like I can see why Partey would start.
I think the thing with that combination, that Jorginho Odegaard, is they keep that ball ticking over, and it's always that extra pass, and you're making your opponent run. But it will depend on whether Partey's fit, isn't it? I think I think fitness. He's formed it, but I think that was down to fitness, and it'll be whether Arteta and coaches have seen whether he's got that back, and he's ready to play. But I think Jorginho deserves to play after his last two performances. He's done nothing wrong. And if you look at all his stats on Sunday, well, he was ranked first in the team for. So he won the most. He passed most tackles, most interceptions, most passes, and bits and pieces. So his stats were good. And for somebody who's considered weak on the ball and old and not got the legs, he wasn't overrun on Sunday. He didn't get just totally bulldozed. So
no, well, I'd say look, you've got to play yourself out of the team. In all honesty, this is what I said earlier on in the season. Again, it's your place until you play yourself out of the team, whether or not that's through bad performances or just constant mistakes. A little bit like Zinchenko in a way, but I just think Zinchenko just got a little bit caught up in the whole kind of passion of trying to get one over Man City. In all honesty, I think at times it was like boiling over, and you've seen it on the bench where he's kind of really animated, and I just wonder if that's kind of crept into his game where he's just a little bit really pent up with not frustration, but a lot of energy, and it's just caused him to kind of drop the ball and just lose that kind of real kind of focus. But we know he isn't the most natural, a natural defender. I mean that's straightforward. But again, I just don't think it helps where he is this quite, just really kind of in the moment, and a player that just is like that, I don't know, it can cause maybe a little bit of an issue.
Yeah, I mean, I think as a team we've not been as defensively solid, so that's affected him. You always know he's not there to be. He's not your best defender, but what he will do is he'll give you a calmness and an assuredness in defensive positions. So he will receive a ball in the box with players around him, and he will be able to play that ball out. He's also another out ball, because teams were finding us out with just Partey as our out ball, now we've got two central midfielders. We've got the two. We've got Ben White wide, and we've got the Martinelli or Saka as our outboard. So it's now harder for teams to pin us in when and that's the thing. And you also know that in the final third, he's got more ability on the ball to play at through ball than probably Tierney. Tierney can get crosses on, he can beat a man and bits and pieces, but he doesn't have quite that finesse pass that Zinchenko's got. But I think Tierney's a fantastic player, and if he plays like he did for the game, what was it, 40 minutes he got nearly against Newcastle. If he plays like that on Sunday, it'll be a good performance. And he's now got a few games to say to Arteta, look what I can do. You really should have been playing me before now.
Yeah, he can come in there now, and look, this will make up Arteta's mind, but it also may hopefully make up Tierney's mind, where he suddenly says, "Yeah, I want to be part of this." Look, Champions League football. Yeah, look, you're in a team that's obviously got a good balance, and yeah, do you want to be involved in it? And that's it. That's what I'm saying. That's why I'd be a bit gutted if he did leave, because I just think he's kind of.
I think it'd be a bit weak if he turned around and said, "I want to leave because I want first team football." You're getting first team football. You might not be a starter, but no one should be guaranteed, or very few players should be guaranteed starting spots, and you have to earn it.
Yeah, I think a lot of it. I think what Liam touched on again. It's obviously the fitness as well. It hasn't been easy. It hasn't been ideal for him because at a time where he was playing really well for Arsenal, he then gets the injury. He then has a few setbacks on his comeback, and look, when you're kind of having someone taking your place and they're doing well, then obviously with the new season with Zinchenko coming in, look, if it's working, it's gonna stay, isn't it? It's gonna stay like that, and it's a case of then having to play your way into the team, but. It's just unfortunate. I think it's more the word for it on that side, but a reason to kind of up and leave. I didn't think he'd be the easy route kind of player. I still think he'd want a challenge. I still think he'd want.
He doesn't come across as that type of person.
So. I think he'll be good. I think he needs to bed down and get and put lay the challenge down, lay the marker down in these 3 games. As I say, if he plays well in these 3 games, we get the 9 points, 100%.
I also think Brighton have got a few players out for this game. Sonny Marsh, I believe, is out.
Okay. Yeah, no, I'd be interested. Look, whatever they put out there, it's going to be. They're well drilled. Obviously, apart from last weekend, just ridiculous. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
20. It seems like an Arsenal kind of game. Right? I had about 25 shots, and you don't. Yeah. I don't know.
Yeah, it's one of those, isn't it?
It's ridiculous. But
yes, they've got Adam Lallana out, Joel Veltman, he's a defender, I believe. Moda, Sarmiento,
Right.
Mwepo,
Okay. Yeah.
Lamptey,
Oh, Mwepo,
and
wasn't he? Oh, wasn't he? No, he was. Wasn't he the one who scored against us last season? But
Mwepo scored against us last
I
season.
thought he
Yeah,
retired.
he, he's got a chest
Yeah.
stomach injury.
Oh, chest. No, I think you'll find that's the player.
Oh, yeah, it's hereditary cardiac.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So he's actually retired. So he's not actually injured.
retired.
Well,
Yeah,
he is injured, but he's actually
yeah.
retired. Um,
Lamptey's he is out, is still out as well, but he hasn't. He's been out for a while.
yeah, and he's a decent player.
And Sonny Marsh is fine.
Yeah, as I say, we've just got to look out for ourselves now. What we put on
Yeah,
the pitch, and yeah, hell for leather. I think that's what we got to do. And look, it'll be a big atmosphere in the Emirates. Yeah,
yeah.
I'm kind of going on the side of Liam on that with regards to Trossard. I think Trossard potentially down the middle, maybe.
It's what I'd look at is pushing Jesus out right, Trossard in the middle, and Martinelli left.
Oh, and what? Leave out Saka?
Yeah, leave out Saka.
Yeah,
Bring him on.
he does need a brief, but again, this is one of those things. Can you afford to kind of leave him out, or potentially, if it doesn't work out?
You think that front three I just said
Yeah.
will interchange more?
Oh yeah.
There'll be more fluidity because Jesus will drift inside a lot. So will Martinelli, and I think Trossard will drift into those spaces left unoccupied. So you're going to it's going to cause Brighton all sorts of problems there. Where do we go? Who picks up who? And it could be quite a nice thing. I mean, you could just put Trossard on, but I quite like the form Martinelli's in. I mean, again, he was driving at Shah and Trippier, and he had a couple of chances. It was his cross that got our second. So it's, and he could have had, as I said, he could have had 2 or 3 on the day himself. Slightly better finishing than but it's so. And it's nice to have that problem, though, isn't it?
Yeah.
This is what you want.
This is what we want now.
You want Arteta to have to make a decision, and not just be, this team picks itself.
Yeah, no, well,
You want him to
look at Pep Guardiola. Look at the riches he can kind of do, and he has his 2 different teams, and that's what we got.
This is a thing, isn't it? Yeah, this is a thing. What was it? It was against Leeds. 7 changes, and the performance didn't get affected. We put 7 different changes in there, but our performance level drops.
Yeah, that's
because we haven't. Yeah, and that's where we've got to get to, and I think most of that's down to the midfield areas where when you bring players on, you haven't got that ability to bring a quality quality for Partey or Xhaka at the moment, and that's what we want and that's what we need in this summer. I think 6 players. I'd take 5, but 6 would be ideal. And then when we're selling players as well, and you maybe get a few more players dependent on who you sell. To me, right, Casido, Rice, Kuleveski, because he at the moment him and Spurs aren't quite interested in taking that option up. They're and ahhing whether they want. Now that's an ideal replacement to have on for Saka on that right hand side. He's direct. He's good. He can provide. He hasn't provided many this season, but last season 8 goals, 5 assists, and if he reproduces that form, which I think he would do, you then got a decent quality alternative to Saka.
Yeah,
because that's where we are. That's where we are lacking at this moment in time.
we're lacking.
If you're going,
I'm just I can't get around the Tottenham connection. I'm sorry. He's not one that really.
We've done it before. We've sold players to them. They sold players to us.
Oh yeah,
and they're not a direct rival, are they? We are streets ahead of them at this moment in time.
Well, yeah, we still are a direct rival.
We're a local rival, but they're not the same quality.
No,
they haven't got the same quality.
They're in a rebuild, like, well, and this is what I said when they moved to their stadium. Be careful you don't end up like how we were. Oh no, we won't. All my Spurs mates are at work and all sorts. No, we won't. We've got X amount of money. Blah blah blah. We've got our own bar. We've got our own brewery. We've got all this. We've got that. It's like it's a money. It's a money mounted. It's just everything just like there. I said, all right, okay.
That's okay if you reinvest in the squad, isn't
it?
Well,
exactly. It's just it lines up, and then you don't do it, and then you're kind of you're stuck in the situation where you're having to kind of.
The problem is that money is going straight back to paying off that stadium, and it might take them less time to pay that stadium off because they're getting all this extra revenue in, but in the meantime, they're still not investing as heavily as they should do.
This is what I said about us. I said that there's no point having a new shiny stadium if you haven't got the squad to play in it. And that was we might as well stayed at Highbury and sucked it up and just carried on. But yeah, it was criminal. It was criminal to have gone from the Invincibles. 4 years since, obviously, 3 years after the Invincibles, David Dean got ousted out, and then the board just turned coats and literally sold up. To then the lack of investment, and you're suddenly thinking by like 2017, 2018, we're in total just. You know what I mean? Bedlam, and it's like, look, we dropped so far, and this is where a lot of our supporters don't really understand. And it ain't Wenger. It's not all Wenger. It's one of these where he had 3, 4, 5 different roles that are now being handled by various people because they can't do it all. But that was mainly because they hadn't got.
Also, the board were relying on him being able to make average players.
Well, look, well, if they're not backing him or they're not showing the ambition, then he is going to have to try and find another gem like a Vieira or a Nicolas Anelka. Unfortunately, it was good. It was good in at one time where you could pick up these players, but when all the scouting networks had started improving across the country, that become harder and harder. And those kind of players were not able to be kind of picked up, and you then found yourself just kind of fighting against the tide. And look, he brought players in, and through either injuries or whatever, didn't work out. And in that time, every single year, he's trying to sell off his crown jewel, because to try and make the money up, what we needed to do to keep it balanced. He didn't want to do it. I'm pretty certain he didn't want to do it, but he had to. But then when you're suddenly bringing in players to try and evolve the squad, I'm talking Diaby, I'm talking one of the numerous kind of injuries. You look at even that the leg break with Ramsey being out for so long, and you're suddenly thinking just a couple of those players that were just kind of there in Eduardo Silva, and you're thinking all these little players that he's kind of bringing to try and evolve, then suddenly goes down with these injuries, and you're always playing catch up. And
the Ramsey one as well. Broke
so
you can't legislate for that.
It's all know, and we just struggled for year upon year, and can deal with that. And it's testament how well we done to get us in the Champions League for the amount of time he did. But to lay blame and say, "Oh, it was just him," it's all him. It's too easy, it's too soft, and that should have gone straight directly to KSE and the running of that club. Because look, Tottenham are having the same kind of thing now, where look, there's no backing for that the playing staff. They're going to struggle now, because they're going to come to a time where players are going to like, where's the ambition?
And United as well, to be honest.
Well,
they need
you move to the stadium.
So.
You move to the Emirates. There's got to be a stellar kind of team that's going to be walking out there, not just one that's going to just get by and just carry on.
Yeah,
and I'm talking 15 to 17 years after. I mean, it's one of those, obviously. And you look at it, we're only now coming back out of it, and that's because we've had to do a full reset of it as well, and a full reset of the playing squad to get rid of the remaining the remainder of the players that was kind of still lurking around.
Yeah, and there's only one now, isn't there? I mean, and that's Xhaka. Xhaka and now Nenny. You got Nelson, you got Maitland-Niles, but where we got?
So, but look, again, if in the time where we were kind of wanting that kind of investment, 2007 to 2009, 2010, then surely whoever was owning the club, or whoever who was in the board, would be saying, I don't want the club to be going down. I don't want it to be done. So I'm going to extend myself or ourselves to make it happen. There's no chance we're going to get relegated, but here's this little injection into the club.
I'd have liked a bit of business now, and get those sponsorships and that business revenue.
Well, it's easy. Shocking. You know what I mean? It was for someone who come in and he was kind of dealing with the commercial side of things. He had an absolute shambles of.
And this is the problem, isn't it? I mean, you look at City, you look at United, and you look at how they generate their revenue, and you look at how we do, and we are still leagues behind them. And if we want to be an elite business, sports business, we've got to catch up and do better on that commercials and business side and those partnerships, because there will be tons of companies out there interested in partnerships with us and generate revenue. We got to be a little bit more clever.
Well, that's it. It's now a total fresh. Sorry, Liam, we've just been.
That's all right.
It's about moving to the Emirates and the lack of investment at the crucial time to where we are kind of like now.
Yeah.
So and where Tottenham are kind of finding themselves in now, where they're not strengthening their squad. They've got the longest bar, but they can't improve their playing squad. But yeah, going back, we may as well go back into the game. Yeah, we've gone through midfield. The striking three. What we think of? I know Richard had kind of said that he'd look to kind of rest Saka or put him on the bench and move Jesus over to the right with Trossard down the middle. Was it down the middle and then Martinelli on the left?
Yeah, that's because those three would interchange really well, and I think that causes more that the type of movement you'd get with that front three would probably scare the hell out of Brighton and cause them a lot of issues. And then from about 60 minutes you bring on Saka.
Yeah,
because he would terrify a tired Brighton defence as well.
Mm.
Yeah. What do you think, Lou?
Yeah, no, I can see it. Like, I think as we said, Saka looks a little bit burnt out at the moment, don't he? Like, I think the interesting thing for me is the only thing that really interests me is obviously with Tierney playing. Does he play Tierney and Martinelli? I think it all depends what he wants Tierney to do. So if he wants him to play the inverted role, then he'll definitely play Martinelli down the left. If he wants Tierney to play his natural role, then you're probably best off playing Trossard, isn't it? Because he comes in much more and supports the inside. So I think that's it. All depends on what he wants from Tierney. But I could definitely see, like, the thing is, I don't know if he will drop Saka. I don't think he will drop Saka, but I think if anyone is in need of that rest and that kind of just that game away, do you know what I mean? I think it is Saka, to be honest, because he just. I think this penalty miss has affected him. I think it's affected him big time.
I think also the fact that we've lost Saliba, so Ben White can't overlap, and that right, even with Kivior there, we're looking to keep that side more defensively stable.
Yeah.
So he's having to try and beat 2 or 3 defenders on his own now. Whereas when Saliba was there, he could go inside. You'd have either Odegaard or White overlap, and it was harder to defend him because you had other players to worry about. Now you haven't got you did in the Newcastle game, but that's about the first game. And the Chelsea game, we start to saw that because we had Kivior there, who's a slightly better defender, and it's just, I think that's part of it as well. I think a loss of form as well. So I think it's a accumulation of all those things together.
Yeah,
and it wouldn't hurt. And if you think putting Jesus out on the right hand side, he's probably the one player in the squad that can beat players quite easily and just cause chaos. And I've not been impressed with Reece Nelson out on the right. Otherwise, I'd have put Reece Nelson out on the right. I think his best games for us have been on that left foot and coming in inverting into the coming in off the left flank. But he's another option. But as I said, personally, I think he's better on the left hand side, Nelson. But with Martinelli, he runs at players, and as I said to Paul just a second ago, with Sonny Marsh out, I think that left side is that right side of their defence is a little weaker, and is probably more gettable. And with Trossard, he's not the paciest, is he? He's got a lot more guile than pace, and I'd like him in the middle. I just think he's got that ability to do what Jesus does in the middle.
Yeah, I think the things Martinelli for me as well is like I don't think he's really a player that I think he has to start games Martinelli for me. Like when he comes on, I don't think he's the same kind of player, and I think Martinelli's kind of player like you see really big first halves out of him, not potentially his second halves as much. So I think personally he'll go with the same front three. I actually think he'll go with the same front three again. That's what I think he'll do. But I just think that as well, obviously after Trossard's last game at home, and I just think there's a big game in him for this game. I just think he's got there's a big carrot there for him, isn't there? To go out and have an absolute stonker. So there's just me saying that I do think that if he does play, I think he won't let us down, Trossard. We know that already. He's been superb when he's come here, and I think he's been a bit unfortunate that he's come here and he's got the front three in front of him that he's got to obviously try and dislodge someone. And like no other player would come into the club really and get 8-9 assists and still not be able to get in the team. So that's how good that front three is to what Arteta thinks he is. So I think he will go the same front three, but like you said, he could play Trossard on the right. He could play Trossard on the left. He's got so much flexibility there. Like it's amazing, isn't it? But we just got to go at them from the start. But the problem is with us at the Emirates, we just got to keep tight for the first 5 to 10 minutes because you'll know, bro. We've been there over the last few months. We've conceded 3 shots in the first out of 4 games, like literally like from kickoff, and 2 of them resulting to goals. And all due respect to Arteta, like he don't plan for his team to be 1-0 down after 10 seconds, does he? And that just throws your game plan straight out the window. And I think definitely the Southampton game, I think it was the first time that I see a bit of naivety in the team, a bit of not enough experience in the team. That they just went completely gung-ho, didn't they, for that first 15, 20 minutes. And then they found themselves 2-0 down.
I think we also struggled without Xhaka that game.
Yeah,
that was
I just thought they the ball was just going around them, but they were just running around and just not.
It was like headless chickens. They were like headless. You're right.
It was like really crap.
Xhaka was massively missed, but for me, that was probably that's probably the game where I look at Arteta and say you should have started. I support it. Like when I see Vieira in the team, all my head just went back to was Brentford, thinking we didn't win the game at Brentford. And Vieira started, and I think it's all nice having all these number 8s and number 10s playing in the team, but our team at the moment is based on a number 6 and a Xhaka playing the 8 role, and there's a lot of physicality there, isn't it? When you take the Xhaka out and put Vieira there, he's a totally different player. And 100%. For me, that game should have been Jorginho should have gone into that team in that game, and then
or Smith Rowe, because I think Smith Rowe he's got that. He's got that build to cope with the physicality in that role, I think, and I think that's what Arteta's doing to him. He's teaching him that role and getting him more accustomed to it, and he's now not playing him until he's got it perfectly.
Yeah.
But
I think a lot of it's to go with Emil's kind of injury. I think that's
That's
he's been key. I think he's been very. But I think it's going to be a case of that he wants to do it. If to be honest, there's the potential that he could play kind of in that Wolves game or whatever, then he might get some game time. Certainly, maybe the last couple. But I think he come on, didn't he? Come on against Newcastle.
He came on in the City game, didn't he?
That's it. Yeah. Did he come on for Newcastle?
I can't. No, it was Nelson.
No.
Nelson, Partey.
Yeah, it wasn't really the game to have brought him on though for 10 minutes, was it?
Do you think? I was going to ask you. Do you think, like with Smith Rowe, like are we looking to buy the right defensive midfielder before we kind of implement that as well? Because we have seen it a few times, haven't we? The Smith Rowe Odegaard. I remember last year at Burnley, which was a bit disappointing. I always remember the game, the 0-0 in January. It was an absolutely dreadful game. And it's never really worked, does it? The Emil Smith Odegaard, when he's played, he's tried it there a few times and it hasn't really worked out. But I do wonder at times, is that particularly because of the actual defensive midfielder as well? Are we looking to get a certain kind of defensive midfielder in to play that role, so then that can work in front of them?
Well,
yeah, very possibly. That's why I think that's why we've been linked with Zubimendi, Casido, and Rice, because those, especially Casido and Rice, they can play a variety of roles within that team. Rice can play 8, and he can play defensive midfielder. So Casido's more of a box to box, and he's quite physical and a destroyer. And it's and Zubimendi is a pure and out DM, but he has the technical quality. He could play further forward if you wanted him to. I mean, he scored a few he scored a few goals in La Liga this season, isn't he? So, but it's who can you get? And I'll tell you, two players I'd look at: Ward-Prowse and Lavia from Southampton. If you watch that Southampton game, that Lavia was a class apart. He just danced around our midfielder, ex-City academy, so he's decent. And he'd be a lot cheaper. He'd be a cheaper sort of alternative to come in, and then he's now got a year's experience, which will improve him.
Mm.
And as I said, Ward-Prowse, if you stick him at the base of our midfield, our set pieces improve tenfold.
I said about Ward-Prowse a few weeks ago.
I like him.
It's probably a conversation worth having, isn't it? As a club, and you're suddenly thinking, well, what could he go for? I think he's got a year left, hasn't he? I think on his contract or whatever like that. And you're just suddenly thinking,
it's interesting what they're going to get.
Al Neni or Ward-Prowse? If you're looking at it, he comes in over Al Neni immediately in my eyes, and you could still have Ward-Prowse and get Rice or Casido in there quite easily. It's about putting that depth in that midfield. We need that depth. We haven't got it at the moment.
Yeah, I was looking at his stats, and it was like he's created 4 times as many chances than any other team or any other player in Southampton. Yeah, 4 assists, 10 goals.
In a poor Southampton side.
Well, yeah, look, 85% pass accuracy. It's like,
which isn't bad.
Yeah, well, again, look, in a team like Southampton, I mean, there isn't a huge. You ain't going to get a real kind of like control of a game, are you? Certainly with the season that they've had. But you look, I say, if they go down, which obviously it's very likely that they are pretty much. I think it's just it's just waiting to be signed, isn't it? I think it's just that they're gone.
Yeah, it's just the I's dotted and T's crossed.
Come straight in. There's no qualms about him being able to kind of play in the Premier League. And look, I think we've kind of always been wanting another kind of set piece kind of player. I think, because I think we've been a little bit shy with free kick goals, apart from obviously Odegaard.
Yeah, but it's not consistent.
No. But as I say, normally when you're seeing Ward-Prowse pick up that free kick, and you're suddenly thinking, "Blimey, this is," unless that's just against us.
Yeah.
When you suddenly say, "Oh, yeah, don't give away fouls," on the thing, because you suddenly think as soon as he picks up a free kick, it's like it's a goal. But yeah, It's an look. We're linked with so many midfielders, and there's so many different slants on how they play and where they play, and different kind of types of midfielder. Look, we just want to support the team. Let's let the big decisions go with the manager, because I mean, I don't know. It doesn't look cut and dry with Declan Rice as well. It looks like West Ham are going to play silly money. I think with
even though he's got a year left, they've got an option for another year, which is 2 years really. So that sort of price, and you're not.
Look, if they want him, they've got to pay the money, haven't they? At the end of the day, and he's suddenly thinking, what would you value him?
Well, on transfer market, he's valued at 70 million euro, 80 million. I think it's 80 million euros, but that works round about 74, 75 million pound. Yeah. So that's his true value. But can West Ham afford to lose him? No, and they know there will be clubs willing to pay that sort of money. United will go in, will try and do it. Chelsea can do it. City can do it.
Got to pay the Reddies, mate. We got to pay the Reddies for him, mate.
Yeah. If you want him, you're going to have to do it.
Do you know what?
We've got Balogun. Chuck Balogun in.
You've just said what I was about to say. Like I was having this conversation today with someone about Balogun.
Already, chuck Eddie or Balogun in there, and or even Lokonga.
Well, I think Balogun's the big one, isn't it?
Balogun's probably the one got the most value in him, but
Balogun's not going to play.
They're screaming out for a natural scorer, so either Eddie or Balogun plus some.
Are you going to pay 80, 90 million still on top of that?
Yeah.
You pay it because do you know what? Yeah, right. The geezer's worth it. Like the bloke. I know they're only in the Conference League this year, but he's got experience of playing in the Conference League, and they could potentially could get to a final. They played in the UEFA Cup League last year, didn't they? And they got to a semi-final. Am I correct in saying? Like he's been the captain of that club. He's in the England centre midfield, and he's potentially going to be the next England captain, in my opinion, when Harry Kane obviously decides to retire. The bloke, all that leadership alone, yeah, right. The bloke's worth it. You're bringing the full package. You're not just bringing a player who's in a centre midfielder from a club who's, do you know what I mean? Who can offer you little bits of this and a little bit of that. He offers you number 6 role. He offers you number 8 role. He offers you leadership. He offers you experience. He offers you absolute everything. And if you want to see what the bloke's all about, go and watch the video of him going into the West Ham under 18, the Youth Cup final at the Emirates. It was in there with the youngsters at the end, all like the geezer's an unbelievable example as well. And like for me, if we get him, it would be like signing Sol Campbell. I honestly believe that it would be like a Sol Campbell kind of signing in terms of the impact that it will have on the club and the rest of the club. Do you know what I mean? It was like when we brought Dave Seaman at Arsenal, like in 1990. Look at the impact that had. Like Sol Campbell had the impact, and we went on to win the title. Both them players, we went and won the title the next year. We go and buy him. I think we're proper up there to win that league next year, or we'll definitely be competing again. We'll definitely be the second best team at least the second best team in the league if we get him in that midfield, in my opinion, because he has got the whole package, and it's about time. As us Arsenal fans, we deserve a signing like this. We deserve to see a big signing like this come to us and make a big statement.
Yeah, I wanted Calvin Phillips last year. You see, I said if we couldn't get Rice last year, I'd like to see Calvin Phillips in, because he was the sort of that defensive midfielder and destroyer in the middle of the park that would have suited us. But it's a shame he went to City. But and that's the other issue. City could just go to West Ham. There's Phillips. We'll take Rice. Here's your money, and I think what helps us is we're a London club and he's a London boy. He might not. If it comes to a straight shootout between, he might just prefer staying in London.
Mm. He definitely wants to stay in London. He definitely wants.
Yeah.
Like, I always thought he'd be a Chelsea. He'll go Chelsea.
Well, he's ex-Chelsea Academy, isn't he? And that's the other.
It wouldn't surprise me if we go in for Mason Mount as well. I honestly think we could go in for Mason Mount as well.
You see, that one surprises me.
I could see it.
I'll ask you both. Do you actually rate him? Because I don't. I hear all this hype, but what I've seen, I've not seen anything to justify it. I look at it and I'm thinking, what am I missing here?
I think it's obvious that managers do rate him, right? And when I say that, I think that it's very obvious that managers do rate him. Has he been under the right manager? I'm not too sure. Not too sure Chelsea's really right for him as well. I think under someone like Arteta, he could absolutely flourish into the player that he could be. I think he's definitely best mates with Declan Rice, isn't he? So there's something that could kind of persuade as well. But yeah, he hasn't proven to anyone that he's a top level player in no stretch of imagination. But it does make me think, even though I haven't seen the performances, how much managers do rate him and do play him. Like, I think it's the only first time he hasn't really got into the Chelsea team, has he? But Southgate seems to rate him highly. Frank Lampard seemed to rate him highly previously. And I think there is a player in there, but I think he has to make a move. I think he has to get away from Chelsea, and I think he needs to make that move. And he's got to prove himself wherever he goes now, whether it's Liverpool, whether it's Arsenal, whoever it is, he needs to prove himself.
Yeah. See, I don't think he suits Liverpool in their current structure.
Yeah, I don't either.
I don't see what role he plays unless he's going to play like a false nine. I think McAllister will suit Liverpool perfectly because he's got the energy. And he plays that sort of role quite well. And him in one of the three would be quite. He's got the energy and the athleticism to do what Klopp wants. I don't think Mount has that athleticism that Klopp needs in the middle of the park, which is where they really struggled this season.
Okay, lads. Just going to dip into the live chat. Emerson is in the live chat. He agrees that Saka should be omitted from the starting 11 on Sunday. Come on after 70, 75 minutes, which I think it is just nice just to mix it up. But again, it probably could have happened a few weeks ago, really.
Yeah, no, I mean.
But yeah, look, I think it's time now we can just kind of switcheroo, can't we, and go for it.
Yeah.
But again, look, we can play with a smile on the face now, really, for the next 3 games. Pressure really off, in all honesty. That's what I said. The 5 games, go and play with a smile on your face. Objective done. If there's a bonus at the end, after you playing with a smile for those last five games, then look, you got that title. That's it.
Well, let's say Everton get a point on Sunday. It puts and we win. It puts pressure on City, added pressure, and then we see how they cope when coming into those final games.
Yeah. Emerson, go on.
And I was just going to say, I think as well with these last 3 games, I think it'd be interesting. Obviously, if we don't get the result against Brighton, what he will kind of do, like in terms of the last couple of games, because I think when he then start looking at like plans that we're going to move forward with, in terms of potential, like there's obviously. I've heard rumours as well with Walters that they're potentially looking him at the invert right back role, isn't they? In terms of, and he's been on the bench and all that, and
he played pre-season, didn't he, as well? And he looked pretty decent before he got that injury in pre-season.
So it makes me
it's an option, isn't it?
It's definitely last game of the season. If the league's over with, you'd try it, wouldn't you? Surely you would.
Yeah.
It looked very good. With the ball going forward. So I think it looked really, really good.
He looked confident. You could tell he was more confident. Like when I went to the game final, was it? He was the most confident player on that pitch, and he was like the leader of that pitch. And you could tell.
Even in the semi-final, and you saw it, and it was just come out, and it just be playing with the ball, and it was just nice, just good to see, just coming out and just bringing the ball out, and look, he's there for a reason. He's there by being selected on the that he could go and do it, but whether or not he's 100% ready, we don't know. But look, that's it. That's all about blooding him in and getting the game time. But yeah, look, next season will be a big year for him on that side. So let's just hope. But he's certainly got the size, certainly physical attributes. I think he's decent. So let's hope he's certainly a goer. Emerson, my starting 11: Ramsdale, White, Kyrgios, Gabriel, Tierney, Jorginho, Xhaka, Odegaard, Martinelli, Trossard and Jesus. Subs: Turner, Vieira, Partey, Walters. He did make a correction, Holding. Obviously no Zinchenko, Smith Rowe and Nelson Nketiah. So yeah, look, I think there's not going to be too many deviations from that. I think. I mean, bar the one player. I think, but yeah. Oh, he's coming around very quick.
Yeah.
Question for. Go on, Lou.
Go on.
On what Arteta said that he must. What are your views of what Arteta said that he must release academy players from 2-3 years ago before the upcoming players that we have can have their moment? I imagine so. Yeah, so kind of getting rid of the players there before bringing the newer ones through. What your thought?
He obviously thinks there's some absolute talent coming through, don't he? First and foremost.
Yeah.
I think it's going to become hard. I was thinking about this earlier on. I think it's going to become harder and harder, isn't it, for Arteta to kind of blood the first team players. When you think about it, and you think that if we compete this year, like we have competed this year for the title, if we compete next year for the title as well, you know what the expectations are like. The expectations are massive, isn't they? And then it becomes harder to kind of blood talent in, and the more successful you become. So I hope it doesn't, because like it's a massive part of our establishment at Arsenal, isn't it? In terms of obviously the how-end products, what players.
I think the other issue is that now your benchmark standard is Saka, and you've got to be at that level to get into the team now, and that's a hard thing. He can't afford to say to Patino, come in next season to take another season, and Patino wants to play first team football, but I can't give you that because you're not ready for us, not at the level we need you to be. So you've got to be ruthless.
Yeah,
and
we'll be filling up the.
If you sell those players, if you sell 4 or 5 of those players, and you get 10, 20 million out of those 4 or 5 players, that's 20 million towards an extra player.
Well, look at Iwobi. Key example. For 30, 40 million we got for him. Like, if you continue to make that on your youngsters over the next couple of years and all that, and start to make them kind of money, like you say, it supports the kitty, don't it? Like, it does bring us money. It does bring us money. It brings us quite a bit of money. Like, you think even the loan deals that we do, people are paying for them loan deals. Money's coming in the club because of them loan deals. Do you know what I mean? So I think there's if the players don't make it, like Balogun, for example, if we don't think that he's going to be the player that we want or the player that we need at the moment, do you know what? He's had a bloody good year in France, so his value's gone up untold.
Yeah. English player. You're looking 30.
Set your clauses in there. Yeah. Get rid, and then if there's a buyback option, then you've got it.
Buyback option, or
a sell-on clause,
First review.
whatever. They do that, safeguard it, and then potentially you revisit it, and you suddenly see where he's developing is there. But we're not in a position as a club to be doing another Nketiah moment where we're saying prove yourself for 2 years or 3 years.
We ain't got time.
No, because it'll be another one like that, and that'll be two strikers where we're kind of saying go and prove yourself for a couple of
Joe
years.
Willock.
That's another one. It's one of those where we couldn't guarantee him, but look, if we had a buyback clause or whatever in there, in when we sold him, then you know what I mean. You look at it and you're suddenly thinking, well, look, he has sharpened his play, and look, he's showing what he can do. So yeah, that's where we've got to be looking. But we're feasting off a different table now. It's a different priority.
And if you look at all the players we're going to have to sell in what are considered first team players, you sell them for 10, 15 million. You've got nearly 100 million in kitty there, because you've got Ainsley Maitland-Niles. You won't get much for Nelson. You'll probably go for a free. You've got Pepe. You've got Tavares. Suarez, you're probably not going to get much for. Holding, Lakonga, and then there's probably you've got Patino, you've got Aziz, you've got all these youngsters on. So you're probably going to try and get rid of 15 players minimum.
Well, look, we know we need to add six potentially 8 players to the squad, because we've got a good 15, 16 players that are at the level. We want to be trying to take that to 23, 24. And
City have 25.
That's the key, I think, is where we've got to look.
No, they got 26, sorry. We've got 3 youth players, and they've got Scott Carson as their fair choice goalkeeper. So, and to be honest, with 22, you can mix and match, and there's no drop off in quality, is there? And we're not quite there yet. But we know that. We know our midfield's probably our weak area, and again, if you're looking at, and I think I said it just earlier on, didn't I? We haven't got anyone you can replace. Take Saka off, and you've got the same quality in that position. You go to the left, you can put Smith Rowe out there. You can put Trossard out there, and you've got like for like quality.
Yeah,
and the same with a striker. You take Jesus off. You've got Trossard now, which is fine, but before that it was Nketiah. So it's just thing. I mean, you take Partey off. Okay, you've got Jorginho, but he's not going to do 38 games a season. El Nenny's not the same quality, as a significant drop. You've got no one else. So you need someone, an extra body in there. Xhaka comes off. At the moment, we haven't got anyone of that quality on. Odegaard comes off, no one of that quality. So that, and then, as I said, Holding needs to be replaced. He's done a good job. He's been a good servant, but I'll take the Newcastle game as a prime example. Look at the passing from Kivior through the lines, through that Newcastle defence. Holding wouldn't do that. Can't do that. It's not his fault. He's just not got that quality, and that's where we suffer.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah.
And we can't be sentimental, can we? Not if we want to be winning league titles and Champions League trophies and all the biggest trophies available to us.
Yeah, no, look, I say we've been there, and we don't want to be at the same thing. Right, let's do one last little thing from Emerson. Richard Patino will be leaving at the end of the season, as it will be mutual consent. As for the others, remains if they stay or go. Yeah, I still think Nelson is a 50-50. I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it's done and dusted that he's going to go. But yeah, Patino's obviously been advised.
I think we try and sign him to a contract and then sell him. But if you want value for money, you'd have to get him to sign a contract because he's only got a year left, doesn't he? So
yeah,
you're not going to get much for him otherwise.
Yeah, well, that's next year. That's the summer. Let's get back. Prediction, Richard.
Well, I've looked at form and stats. Form and that says 3-2, but I'm going for a 3-0. We've just got one clean sheet, and we normally have a couple on the trot. So I'm going for a 3-0.
Yeah.
I'm going to go. I think it's going to. I'm going to go. Sure, I'm debating between 2-1 and 3-1. I'm going to go 3-1. But I think it's going to be quite a difficult game, and I think it all depends how we start the game.
Yeah. Kind of pick.
And it all depends what happens at Man City as well. That's going to have a because if they lose Man City, it puts a lot of pressure on us then and the players, because the players then know that they've got to go out and win. And
yeah,
I think the fans will put them under more pressure if City lose. That's or drop points.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, isn't it? Like in some ways, I would have rather played the game before Man City, but I just don't know, like with our players, like how they react, because you just never know.
You just never know. As you've gone 3-1 or 2-1, I'm gonna have to kind of deviate. 2-0.
2-0 to the Arsenal.
Clean sheet, and that would mean I think Ramsdale would need another 2 more, wouldn't he?
Yes, 2 more. 2 more to be clear of De Gea. 1 more to.
There's no way they're going to keep any more clean sheets. Man United.
One more to be level with him. But I think he could get a clean sheet at Forest as well. You see. So I mean that's. I think he's got. I think he's got 2 more clean sheets.
Yeah,
and that would have been a pretty impressive season then, because if he gets a clean sheet at Forest, that's 11 clean sheets away from home. That's a pretty impressive feat. I don't know what we're.
Yeah. No, well,
I'll do a Google.
Yeah, no, it's been good.
Yeah.
No, don't. An hour and a half talking Arsenal.
Yeah, that's not been bad, is it?
I need to go get some. I'm stuck over in Yorkshire. I need to be. So, yeah, it's been a little while, but yeah, hopefully try and catch up on the City game. Yeah, maybe catch up then. Good, thank you as well. Yeah, good. Yeah, all I can say is up the Arsenal, and let's hope the Toffees come good. So yeah, come on, you Gunners. See you later.
See you later.